Okay.
Attention, please.
Yo. 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 Yo.
Welcome to your Inspirational Astrology Horoscope for Friday, November 15th, 2024. I'm astrologer Dave Palmer, the Leo King, here to illuminate the collective consciousness. Well, thanks so much for tuning in here to my horoscope. Of course, you can catch me on highvibe.tv for all my different horoscopes every day. My deep astrology, we do full disclosure, history in the stars. Lots of other programming on there, of course. Make sure that you check it out, highvibe.tv. I also do have a special hybrid teaching that I'm doing tomorrow about Draconic Astrology, and it's in the next 21 hours. It's going to be happening with this full moon energy, Draconic Astrology, your underlining motivation. And I'm really going to go deep. When you go to highvibe.tv, you can watch us on our apps, of course, but to purchase, you go through the website, or you could be a Premium Plus member. But we got that North Node coming into that 0 point of Aries while Mars will be retrograde. And we all come together in all of our lives and charts, in our Draconic charts, when the North Node arrives to that 0 point. And so it's going to be really important to understand your underlying motivation, the karmic ties to this, the motivation of why you're here this life, how to read that Draconic chart, especially in these times, the transits to them, and also some of the really intense ways that I do astrology with Draconic charts. It's going to be much more class, but I call it a hybrid because it's also not just teaching you in your own chart how to use Draconic astrology, but how to also look at it transit-wise and all the other fun ways I'm going to show people. But also, it's a mini hybrid, I call it, because there's a lecture part of it and how it's affecting us in the world, looking back in history at certain moments when North Node comes to 0 Aries, and also what you can do in the 19-year cycle of it in your own life and see how it was 19 years ago. Where is it going to be 19 years from now? But also where the Draconic planets are placed and the transits that are happening to it during it are very important to pay attention to. And even just always as you go through life, I'm going to be teaching all this. So I'm calling it a hybrid teaching because it's a lecture / a class actually teaching you in your own charts. And of course, if you can't make the live class, it's available for recording, and it's always in your library on High Vibe TV. So like if you were to sign in on the website, or if you were to even do it, oh, hold on, I don't know why that. Sign in with password. There we go. So people can see. Some people don't ever come into High Vibe, so they don't really know. But what happens when you're in your watch section, you have your own library here, right? So these are like all the paid videos, whether they're classes or special events that you buy and that you have them forever, right? So even if you're not a subscriber, you can be a one-time purchaser and be part of High Vibe. I've been wanting to see if people out there on YouTube want to come in, because of course in our community you can make your own posts, you can put up videos, pictures, everything. I got videos up in here, especially about the alien stuff going on, right? But everybody can do that. It's not just me. Everybody's posting their charts. There is no, this is a social media where you can DM, you can do everything. You can follow people, and people can come, they can follow me, they can follow you and see the posts, see all the comments. You have your messages right here. Like, it's also in the app too. But I have the community for just subscribers, but I can turn it on for even people who have just made a purchase or just registered on High Vibe. So let me know in the comment section if people out there in the YouTube world are interested in that, to get their feed into High Vibe, even if they don't subscribe, to be part of the community and be in a place where it's about spirituality. There's no other noise on it. It's literally people in their charts, people in, whether it's alien stuff going on or the weird stuff that happens, but you know, what's happening in the world. And also make sure that you check out on LOL, Laughing Out Loud Through Serious Joy. I was just on with Scott and with Chris. So make sure that you get on that one too. There's so much stuff going on. So just wanted to show everyone that. And also, you know, the deep astrology I did this week. So every week we do what's in the new week, or the easy way to do it, you could just do search, or you can go filters. So you can go like, oh, what's up with the Leo King? In every video that I've done. So right now I'm live, right? So with the chat, right? But at the same time, every day, all like the deep astrology I did a 2 hour and 30-minute one for this week. We got Pluto. We're going to be talking about it in this full moon video, but I got to say, I wish I could talk 2.5 hours about this full moon because there's that much to talk about, but I can't. That's why I do it on deep astrology. And so lots of people, you know, commenting. High Vibe is a very happening place. So I appreciate all the support there. So let's go into talking about this full moon that we're going to have here in Taurus, conjunct Uranus. And thank God, I got to be honest with you, thank God Saturn stations direct in Pisces hours before this full moon comes to its apex, because this is the jolt, I called it in deep astrology. Actually, I have it right there. So this was like the deep astrology thumbnail for this week. The jolt that moves us. Already being that Neptune's the ruler of Pisces, it's in Pisces and it's with Saturn. This Saturn retrograde that went, of course, in the second decan has made us feel like, you want to talk about sloppy or just falling behind on the 8 ball and everything, and even out of energy, and just everything being like, what is happening? And talk about true Pisces energy, like what the hell? That has become extreme. And especially these last 2 weeks as Saturn has been in its station and slowing down. Finally, it stations direct, and it's Saturn that is always the one that when it stations direct, it's, all right, let's go. Let's move forward in our lives. And it's even weirder that Mars is so slow and getting ready for a retrograde December 6th, that when you have these energies, Mars, Saturn, sure, they're not benefics, they're the malefics. But it's the malefics that move us in our life. Jupiter and Venus do not. Jupiter and Venus are opportunities. They're moments that we, you know, too many people look towards those planets as, when is my life going to change? When Jupiter comes? Well, without any motivation of Saturn or Mars, it's kind of like, you know, a nice moment. But it's those two planets, Saturn, Mars, that move things. And so with Saturn stationing direct, this full moon that's going to be with Uranus, it's a relief, but at the same time, it's coming in this really weird moment as we are in the last days of Pluto and Capricorn. So it is the planet that's dispositing this Pluto Capricorn, because Saturn rules Capricorn. So let's take a look at this chart and let's go into this full moon, because man, oh man, oh man, this is some really wild stuff going on here. So we have this full moon happening at 24 degrees of Taurus here, and it's going to be within 1 degree and 17 minutes of Uranus here. And so that means within 2 hours, it's going to conjunct Uranus. Plus 24 hours after this full moon, the sun will make its opposition to Uranus. And this is all while Saturn in Pisces stationing direct. And this one's unique because, one, it's going to ingress into Aries now, because that's the whole thing. Whenever you think of a planet moving direct, you have to think of it like, I know where I'm going. I'm going into Aries. And I know that Neptune in front of me is going into Aries, and I'm not going to meet with it in Pisces. And I'm not even going to meet with it in 2025. I'm going to meet up with it in 2026. So that means Saturn even knows it's going to retrograde in Aries come next year. And then it's going to retrograde back into Pisces with Neptune. And then they both meet in 2026. So that's what's weird about this Saturn is it's also this Pluto on the last 4 days here of being in Capricorn after 16 years. And this Capricorn Pluto transit, boy, oh boy, 16 years. I mean, everything, you could use so many different ways to look at things that have come in and things that have come out. I think like, you know, I'm not going to talk politics on this one, but we can use like the Obamas came in Pluto Capricorn, the Obamas left. We won't see them again like normal, right? Or use the Bush regime, right? The end of Pluto Sag was the end of the Bushes. You don't see the Bushes around. Okay, so with Saturn here now giving this Pluto, to me, this full moon is about the Saturn direct. It's also about this Uranus, but we'll get to that in a second because these are the two planets that are dispositing where Pluto is going to shift 4 days after this full moon. Pluto will switch dispositing energies, right? So Pluto's playing out this Saturn tune that is direct. And so it's almost like this whole Pluto, ever since it went station direct back in October, we haven't even seen the last part of what it wants to show. The planet that's dispositing it has been in Pisces, hidden, retrograde. So the fact that it's stationing direct, I mean, the last 4 days here, I don't think they're going to be as tough as we've been going through because this Saturn retrograde has been tough, okay? But it's definitely about where in your spiritual life are you feeling overwhelmed? Where are you thinking the sky's falling or you feel like you're at the edge of a cliff? And this Pluto Capricorn is about finding resolve to problems by stepping up and having to do what seems impossible or hard or the weight's too heavy. And that's where this moon in Taurus, exalted, conjunct Uranus, is the jolt. It's this jolt to go, my values, my needs can only be met by others if I'm willing to see other people's values and needs the way that I would want them to see mine. Now that's really difficult in Uranus and Taurus because everybody over the last 6 years that we've had it here, especially almost going 7 since Uranus made its ingress May, I think it was the 15th, 2018 for the first time. So it's been 6.5 years almost, right? What we've realized is the collective has a lot of different values, and then we have similar values with a lot of people. It kind of gets extremely tribal over values. But what's interesting is the big lesson here is there are very important things in Taurus that are the highest of value. Everything else, Uranus is saying, don't take that luggage with you. It's too heavy. There's too much stuff that we don't need to take with us or worries. And that's what this Saturn retrograde in Pisces has been for half the year, right? It's been, what do I not need to carry on spiritually in my life? And this isn't about the physical, it's on the inside, right? The areas where we take the boundaryless place of Pisces, of freakouts, 12th house energy, self-undoing patterns. We all have patterns. Nobody is here going, I've mastered all my patterns and problems. No. This has been that extreme highlight. And I think Pluto has been a big amplification of it in Capricorn, of like, we want to strive to be better, but it's not about striving for this ego success thing. Because the moon, before it came into being full in Taurus, for the last time was in Aries, conjunct Chiron, conjunct this North Node, and squared Pluto for the last time. And if you actually look at the Pluto Capricorn transit from 2008 to 4 days from now, it's over. It was the Aries Capricorn axis, and that square, the Pluto-Uranus square, the 2014 grand cardinal cross, when we had the eclipses with Libra, Jupiter, Cancer. Man, I'll never forget that shit. All my videos on YouTube are about that at the time. They're all there. People remember that shit. But it was about now with this North Node Chiron that's been with us for almost a year and a half now, getting close. It's been this ego that no longer serves us, that is focused on success. The success is being your authentic just self and not attached to, well, when I accomplish this or I accomplish that. That's where the emptiness is. And so the Taurus full moon here is trying to fill us up. And it's that fuel of actual values and spiritual cleansing of things that really are distorting our true authentic soul and our true authentic self, that have been way too caught up in worry, or whether it's trying to prove to ourselves, to the world, who we are. We don't have to prove who we are. We just have to be who we are. And so this Saturn has done a deep cleaning, and we've got more of it to come, of course, but I would say that we can say we are over halfway through this really intense, hard cleaning. Now, it's felt very still confusing. Neptune's still in Pisces, and it's retrograde, but we also have Venus in square to the nodes, and it's Venus in Capricorn. And so this Venus is watching, and that's an interesting planet to also look disposit-wise too, because this is a full moon in Taurus. So Venus rules Taurus, and Venus is in Capricorn, and it's looking at Pluto. And this is what's really rare. It's Venus that's going to be the planet that watches Pluto leave. So Venus is like, oh, it's going to feel it. It's going to see it because it's in the sign of Capricorn. It's going to watch what it does and then watch it go into Aquarius and then meet within Aquarius. So Venus actually is the planet for us to really look at in this really odd way, because yes, it's unfortunately also the dispositor of the South Node in Libra. But what I'm looking at this as is, okay, when it comes to these value systems in ourselves, what life's really worth, it's really looking at it from a whole different space now. All the things the last 16 years, we've learned great lessons, we've gone deep, but really it's like, it's this new start energy. We also have the North Node at 5 degrees Aries, getting closer to coming to that 0 point in Aries, where we all have a draconic chart, where we all have that one placement of the North Node at 0 Aries. In any chart, every human being around the world has a draconic chart with North Node Aries. And, you know, we're coming to that place to where maybe not all of us are going to get along at the same way, but that we all start to understand. And the way for us all to get along, by the way, is for us all to really focus on being our best selves and being willing to see people and where they're at. Pisces is also about that empathy and that compassion. But with Saturn here, it's like the last minute before the boat sinks, right? Let's use some ocean shit, right? Especially Saturn's boats and ships. Right before the ship sinks, you think it's going to take on so much water and the Titanic's going to fall down here. Neptune's there, right? In Pisces, it's almost like, oh my gosh. It's kind of like the Perfect Storm, also that movie, right? Where it's like, oh yeah, we got all the fish, but we want to go home to our wives with a bunch of money, so we need to go back in the middle of the storm. Oh no, oh God, it's a 200-foot wave, we're going to die. It feels like that, but Saturn stationing direct with this full moon in Taurus is the jolt and the fulfillment that doesn't come from some external, very Pluto kind of like, you know, seductive energy of like, well, I'll feel accomplished. It's much more on this beautiful level of understanding. It's like, you know what? I can focus now on these are the things that I value the most, and everything else that I was holding on to that I valued isn't spiritually working anymore. Maybe that was part of the past. It used to work. It doesn't anymore. And it's this jolt to let's just take the best things that are the most appreciative things in our lives, the things that we value from a highly spiritual place forward. Everything else, Isn't it worth it? Because it almost has taken the universe to teach us in this way of like, where it feels like the ship's going to sink, however that's playing out in your life. And trust me, it's been feeling like that, right? It won't. When you have that true surrender to, what if I do lose the ship? Well, you can still swim. So there is this fuck it, especially it's a full moon on Uranus, this fuck it, I can still go into every crazy direction in my life, the less I hold on to it all and surrender. Saturn and Pisces stationing direct. Like, allow yourself to just go, you know what? If the worst did happen, Uranus is showing me that there's a million different ways that it can even be better than what I perceived. So it's a weird way of how the universe is really adjusting and evolving all of us to go, this is a moment in my life where I've been through a lot and I'm still here, and it's left these things that are so, highly valuable that you do focus on, that are good, to help move us forward. That Venus and Capricorn at the same time too, watching Pluto, but also in square to the nodes. It is a decision point here that is about what we really connect with. And it's not about the ego and what the plan is. It's much more about, you've already signed up for all of this. And everything that's happening is happening for a reason at this moment. And it's about identifying it and allowing it to happen, opposed to trying to judge it, weigh it out too much with that South Node Libra, have it too much attached. So, well, what does other people think, right? Like, this isn't a moment about like, I'm going to determine my life because somebody's telling me to do that. No. This is about, I've already been placed by spirit here, and I have an underlying motivation spiritually of why I came here, and that we are coming close. This is the full moon that gets us to this next couple months, while that North Node's going to come to the 0 point of Aries, and as we get to a Mars retrograde, and we'll be going to that in a second. But it's like, we are getting to that place to where all of those things of why we came here is going to make so much more sense. And this is the full moon that's the jolt that starts moving us in a different direction. Because at this point, to use another kind of ocean thing, it's like we've been just swimming in circles. I mean, to be honest with you, the hard part about Saturn and Pisces, but add Neptune and Pisces, right? I mean, it's been 500 years since these two were in Pisces together. I mean, talk about trying to control yourself in a whirlpool. Ain't gonna happen, right? The whirlpool is in control, right? And so the more that we allow that to happen, the more less resistance we have, the better. And this is a very good time when it comes about connections, people, relationships. We have to have our values too. But it's like, if we want to be seen for the values that we have to want others to be seen the same way that we want to be felt and seen. And so these are great times for you to start connecting with maybe people you disagree with or in the past, or have had some things with, and find some solutions. I've done that with a lot of astrologers this week, and it's been very healing and very positive. And that's how we're going to start to move forward. We're not going to move forward by picking fights anymore. This Pluto in Capricorn in many ways is revealing there is no such thing as who's the best. There is no such thing as who's in control. None of us here as people are in control. So even when we identify this kind of conspiracy that these people rule the world and stuff, it's always when they fail, when they think it. And it's also about not giving that value system out there, right? Like, we are powerful human beings, and this is a moment for us to see that power. Because it's not because of what we're seeing in that power of like what we identify power with. It's in that feeling of the lack of it and finding it in that feeling when we're lacking it. But this is the jolt. This is the jolt that gets that bull moving. And with the sun in Scorpio in opposition here to Uranus, it is going, you know what? Let me try this new energy, right? So I would encourage you with this full moon. Yes, we're releasing an old direction, but we're pivoting in a new one. And it might look different. It might look weird. It might ask you to make some adjustments. But that's the way through, and it's actually more positive than bad. The only bad thing going on right now is when you stay too stubborn and you aren't willing to make a pivot, aren't willing to find, where can we find some common denominators with others? Where can we allow the universe to surprise us at the same time too? With Jupiter retrograde, that's still in Gemini and will be, of course, for a while. This has been an interesting one because Mercury's coming into that opposition. Now, there's a mutual reception. Jupiter, of course, rules Sag, and Mercury rules Gemini, and they're both in each other's opposite signs, even though they're both detriment. But we have also another mutual reception with Mars and the Sun. So there well, it's behind my head. The Sun's getting 5 points, and Mars is getting 5 points too. And so there is this. Keeping an open mind is important, not being like, I understand everything, right? This Mercury in Sag is going to go retrograde here when we get to 22 degrees. So we're getting close to that. Mercury's at the time of the full moon doing about 1 degree in 2 minutes. So if you really think about it, it's like, we got this next couple weeks and then we're in Mercury retrograde. And then we've got 3 weeks and we're in Mars retrograde. And so with Mars in opposition to Pluto, and especially that's going to get more intense here in 4 days when Pluto moves into Aquarius, and then that disposits Uranus. Right now it's dispositing the Saturn with Neptune. And if you just look at it from a Saturn standpoint, and I'll clear this out for a sec, just think about this. Saturn's now looking at Neptune and going, I have to get through that huge wave, and I have to get through all that confusion. Hey, you'll get through. So it's not going to be perfect clarity right now, especially with Mercury in opposition to Jupiter, right? But this is where we don't want to become embattled in, I know better, or everything's horrible, right? And we can all get there easy. It's still Scorpio season, but it's this opposition to Uranus that's saying, let's take a look at what our needs, what our wants are, and pick out the ones that actually really matter. This is also a good time for us to really weed out the stuff that, it'd be nice to have that, but is it really necessary? So sometimes we get stressed out about things because we want something more, or we might yearn something more. This isn't the time for those things. This is the time for realizing, if I consolidate my energy and actually open up to all the possibilities through consolidating to the most valuable things in my life. And that's how we get focused, because with Saturn in Pisces, with Mercury in Sag, with Jupiter in Gemini, good luck trying to diversify all your ideas and make them all manifest. It's going to be too hard, especially with Jupiter and Saturn in square. And we're getting closer to that, right? In the second square, now that Saturn's direct and Jupiter's retrograde, so they're slamming, getting closer to each other in another square. We have to remember it's about, it's more about the kind of 1 to 2 paths here that we focus on instead of trying to make 18 happen or have everything all happen at once, right? This is more about opening up and letting the universe surprise us, getting new information, new facts, and totally turning that dunce cap off and going, you know what? I don't know everything. I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to hear new facts. I'm willing to hear new things, and especially within yourself. We also have Mars that's been in quincunx to Venus. And what's really odd is these nodes are, of course, in Aries and Libra, so they're both the dispositors. And so the quincunx here, Venus is at full speed, but Mars is not. So there's this really weird way of how are we going towards what we want? We can't be chasing. I am the Leo king. I will say Mars slow in Leo is not a good time. Okay? This is another ego position that's bad, right? Where, we want to have love. We want to have fun. But, if you're chasing after something, chasing after this, it's not going to work. So Venus and Capricorn saying, be patient. If it's the most important thing, well, let's find out the right plan, and you have happiness with it. Like, be patient. Take some time with it. But Mars is trying to rush into, I need to find the courage now, I need to find the happiness now, or I really want this now. And so that adds that inflammation to this kind of like weird moment where it's like, yeah, things are moving forward, but it's not going to be like a fucking catapult. It's not going to be like, 0 to 60 in 2.8 seconds. No way. It's much more about, hey, it's fucking moving. It's kind of like being stuck on a tram, and it's been, almost a full day, and you're like, what the hell? Like, now there's no food here. And then right when you're like, I've had it up to here, it's just like the tram starts to move. It's like, oh. And then it's like, man, I really do value that. I really do value my Sprite, although I don't have a Sprite. I have a root beer right here, but it reminds us of those things, what we've been going through. And this is about that courage, because that courage has that North Node in Mars that is going to be in trine here through most of this whole entire Mars retrograde process that's coming up, right? Because that North Node's coming into Pisces. Mars is going to retrograde back into Cancer. And so we're going to see this Mars North Node in trine. Now, it's Mars slow, but still in retrograde especially too. But we had to remember that the issue is not confidence. The issue is not going after things. When the universe puts it in front of you, trust me, with that North Node Mars that's a long time going to be in trine, you will have no problem to be like, I'm on it right now. And so the issue is not whether or not you're on it and you're ready for it and you're going to take whatever you need in life and be able to handle things. It's more about divine timing, picking out the understanding of what is of the most value to you, and being willing to look in different places. Because going down the same rabbit hole and doing the same pattern and expecting a different result is insanity. That's what the Saturn is truly showing us stationing direct. That's what this full moon in Uranus conjunction in Taurus is showing us, mixed with Pluto in the last 4 days of Capricorn, right? Like, it's almost like Pluto's kind of like, you dumbass. Like, you're never going to get there going in the same patterns and expecting some new result. We have to try different places. Maybe speak to the people that we don't like and find ways to break bread. Another way I would look at this full moon in Taurus conjunct Uranus is like, how do we break bread with others that have different values? Because it's through other people, other connections, and other things that we are going to find more of what we want. We can't be in our own echo chamber. There's no way. And this isn't going to be an easy thing. The good news, though, is even though the planets seem from an astrological, like mathematical perspective, fucked. Not going to lie. But this full moon is like a deeper reminder of like the observing energies of going, all right, things are going to move. The tram's moving forward. I'm not going to just stay in the same pattern again. I have to change something in my life now. And that change is about, there's got to be that kind of Venus quality to it. Like, it's something that I really want. And that I need to have. Scorpio too. But it's that Venus and Capricorn being like, okay, well, if you really want it, let's make sure it's something that you truly love. And to come from that inner child space that's not like a little fucking toddler running around upset that you didn't give them the juice box back. I know this world now, right? We can't be that way energetically as adults. Toddlers, children can. And this is really, in my opinion, one of the most epic moments here that we're going to see with this full moon is the 4 days that follow. Because all of us have to remember this is the end of Pluto Capricorn. You've never in your life been through a 16-year transit of Pluto. Wasn't 16 years back in Sag. Wasn't 16 years back in Scorpio. That Scorpio is the fastest. Libra is the second fastest. Virgo is the third fastest, right? Like, they're not 16 years. Now we're going to go to 20 years of Pluto in Aquarius. So you've been through something you never had before. This will be the third ingress of Pluto into Aquarius 4 days after this full moon. So also be this moon that is in sextile to Neptune. It's also in trine to Pluto. So if you really think about it, all 3 outer planets are covered in this full moon. And so and it's with Uranus. That's why you're seeing the UAP hearings. That's why they're starting to say, yeah, there's actual aliens. Okay. And so we have to realize that all this Pluto Capricorn, this is like the end. This is the last full moon in it too. And so we have to think like the whole world's going to be way different than we ever thought. So even if you take, the politics, it's going to be just like last time. Nothing is going to be like last time in any situation of your life. Remember that, because that was all Pluto Capricorn, 2008 to now. And even though I know Pluto ingressed into Aquarius and gave us some previews, it's just previews. It ain't the movie. You thought you understood the previews. You don't. We all don't know. That's the unpredictable part of Uranus, and especially Aquarius. So the best part of this is nothing will be the same in 4 days after this full moon. And this is your last full moon that either ascends higher and understands that and says goodbye to the way that the structured ideas of way that you have to live are, or I have to go to school and I have to have a job with this degree, or I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to. No, you don't. There is your own beautiful talent that can't go through these old patterns anymore of holding yourself back. And even when you are in your best talent, you're still holding yourself back. And it's usually off the weirdest shit, right? Sometimes it's hard to even understand or describe or even communicate, especially with this Mercury opposite Jupiter. And we're going to see this Mercury retrograde in Sag. And we got some really intense transits coming up here. I mean, honestly, from now up until the eclipses into March, into April, into May of next year is going to be the most intense stuff we've ever seen in our lives. And this is that full moon that's like, I hope you all motherfuckers are ready. And it's the full moon that reminds us that it doesn't matter how crazy things get, you have the ability to make it through and survive by really knowing what's important and remembering that you have the ability to keep moving forward even when it's tough. That's the real lesson of Pluto Capricorn. That it's not about owning the world. It's not about being the most famous person. It's not about being the most successful person. It's about resilience through adversity. And it's a exalted full moon in Taurus, conjunct Uranus, that says, I have gotten all these new things that I value, and those things that are the most precious are the ones that come through what I've learned through resilience in tough times. And it's the resilience in you that will succeed. And in many ways, that's why you saw the way the election went, right? Because it's everything right now, it's like, as long as you stay resilient, no matter how many arrows are coming at you in life and whatever the fuck's happening and whatever it is, inflation or all these things, if you're resilient and keep going instead of quitting and saying, no, I don't want to, or I'm going to just go do the life that everyone else does, because this is the death blow to what everybody else is doing. It's more about, okay, I'll observe what people are doing individually and collecting that understanding, finding where I share values and maybe I don't. It's okay if you don't share values with people. It's about understanding that it doesn't have to come anymore from this place of like, well, they're on the worst team of the fucking planet, right? The aliens are fucking here, right? We want them to show up, right? Or at least show themselves. So get with the program. Like, all the stuff that we've been so concerned about that's connected to systems, that's connected to values that are based off extremely old Capricorn ideas and the way that the world should work and the way that society and structure should work. It's not social causes per se. It's more of society at large and the system and how it's embedded into it. And this is amazing healing that still is happening, because I think one transits that's still happening that I think personally is one of the best ones, is Jupiter sextile Chiron. It's only Jupiter, Zeus, that can relieve Chiron of his horrible experience. And so it's an open mind, not a I know it mind and I have all the facts mind, that your ego can heal. Your ego can only heal by being like, well, I learned a lot here. I tried to be this, right? Like, it's all the insecurities that we all have, that we all try to become certain people. We all put the masks on, some of us more than others, but some of us actually can hide a mask really well. And it's about that vulnerability and going, you know what? Let me just be who I am, and let me be curious of what that actually is. Let me just be who I am, like not the ideas that we create or that we keep observing through other people, right? Like, why does Chiron become not just the centaur of all centaurs? It's his true humble energy. And I mean, he gets screwed. Let's not lie. He gets screwed. It's a sacrifice that he has to take. But it's time to just allow, no matter how weird this is, because that's the whole thing about Chiron. The whole situation sucks, right? Like it's just like, it's even more funny that it is in a battle, right? That's the whole irony, that in Aries, Chiron and Aries, it truly is playing out that Chiron characteristic of like the war part of it, where Chiron's in battle and he gets shot with the poison arrow that makes him mortal. And it's from his own side. It's not like from the opposing side, right? Oh, and then Prometheus needs fucking a liver and you need to die in order for Prometheus to live, but I'll make you immortal again and give you the constellation and rule all the centaurs. And once that happens, he becomes the guide of all the gods. That means that all the gods come to him, including Zeus. So it's weird. It is through our egos that we are learning these humble lessons, and that we are willing to be curious to go, what did I learn from that? And how can I communicate my true authentic self without having to continue to be curious to see if this is the right one? I think this isn't a moment about like, is this the right person? How do I present myself? There is no how to. You are who you are. And when it's coming from a heartfelt place, it's coming from a, you know what? I understand that if I want to be appreciated, I have to also be willing to appreciate people at the same level that I want to be appreciated. And mix in this understanding of the more that you're attached to the old ways of life and systems, it's Cancer that's the opposition, right? That where Mars is going to retrograde. And what's even crazier is it's the comforts, the creature comforts of this way this world's been operating is coming to its close. Now that's the scary part. But if those are your values, then, well, I'd reassess them. I like this full moon. I think it's a beautiful one. It's come at the exact moment we all need it. And you would never know by watching the news or watching social media that people are in this space, because it's so deep, personal, and hidden in your own soul, what you've been feeling with Saturn that's been retrograde in Pisces. And because Pluto, of course, is at the end of Capricorn, it's been dispositing that Saturn. It's been a Saturn retrograde. It's starting to station direct. So you're going to see a lot of people over the next 4 days before Pluto comes in, makes its final ingress into Aquarius, really like be more transparent about, hey, this is what's happening. And then we're also going to see whatever Pluto wants to bubble up that's corrupt, let it bubble up. It's going to bubble up. And even within ourselves, the stuff that we can find better resolve within ourselves by taking responsibility more, but I think a lot of things do sit in Capricorn forever, just like there are traditions. Capricorn's about traditions. And so I think like this whole like end of woke was part of it with Pluto Capricorn at the end, with Saturn retrograde in Pisces. Like, where are those things where the boundaries go too far, right? Like wokeism was crazy. Made no sense, doesn't feel aligned with humanity. It felt like right? So like the end of woke happened really fast. The end of this whole, we're never going to go through this stupid hysteria over healthcare again, right? Like has been seeded. Now, whether that stays or not, because Aquarius, remember when Saturn was in Aquarius, people gave up all their freedoms and gave up all their stuff the most. They gave up their body autonomy and all that stuff. So it's going to be an interesting Pluto Aquarius, but at least the message here from the universe is you shouldn't be valuing pandemic responses, how you want your government. You shouldn't be valuing wokeism, right? It's not there, but there are some things within those things that are good. And it's about understanding those boundaries with the beings in Sun and Scorpio, but more so Saturn and Pisces is losing itself. So basically Saturn, Capricorn, right? Saturn, Kronos, he's like doing drugs. Like that's what's happening with Neptune and Pisces with his brother. Like he's just like getting fucked up in Pisces and waking up right now being like, oh shit, have I lost all my responsibility? Have I lost control? Right? What was I saying for the last 5 months? Like, oh, you were getting all woke, dog. Oh shit, no, cut that off. I'm not doing that shit no more. Fucking even AOC dropped her fucking pronouns today. So that tells you a lot. So funny. That's totally what's happening on this full moon is like Saturn's like, hey, fuck, what just happened, dude? Like, oh, well, you got all woke, bro. Well, end that shit. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Tim Waltz gave you a dress and shit. Oh, put that shit away. Burn it. Fucking. Your phone was trying to hit up Diddy the whole time. It was like, shut the fuck up. So Saturn's having a jolt for sure, but a wake up that's like, cut out all this stuff. It's not me. I took because there's no boundaries in Pisces. It's just like the wide universe. And it's trying to understand all that. And that's what takes you so far out, right? And so Saturn's now dropping some boundaries. Like, yeah, that's too far. That's too far. And you know what? Have the convos with people you disagree with more than sitting in your echo chambers. You're going to find that we all have way more in common. And that's the cool part of like Uranus and Taurus. And it's always weird shit. Uranus, like go to the end of the last Uranus Taurus, right? It was like, okay, everybody didn't agree on a lot of values in the world, but a bunch of people did come together because they also agreed that the shit was getting too weird. And that's what's happening right now. And that was easy to see. Or what I've been preaching for a long time to people. But, all right, let's see what we got card-wise for this full moon. I think that's so funny that Saturn is like, what the fuck? Like, it's like The Hangover the movie times 1,000,000. Right? It's more like leaving, like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Okay, that's with Neptune and Pisces there, it's like that. Okay, it's like Johnny Depp and that. Fucking like, straight up like, oh, I don't know, dude. Fucking about the bar these reptilians right now. Fucking, you know, like fucking that's Saturn retrograde with Neptune and Pisces. And so the fact that it's stationary, we've all been through this weird like feeling of like, am I okay? Like, what the fuck? That is such a good way to, with Pluto Capricorn at the last point too, it's almost like the universe does everything perfect. It's like, of course, Pluto's going to realign Saturn at the last minute as it stations direct 4 days on its last time in here and be like, are you okay? Like Pluto's kind of like, are you okay, motherfucker? Like, I don't want to have to kill your sign. I don't kill signs fully, but are you still going to rule this sign? Yeah, no, I'm on it. Fucking, okay, get all that weird shit off. Clean off all that fucking weird shit and get the fuck out of here. And get back on track. But Pluto secretly, too, is kind of like, I enjoyed watching that shit. You know, like, I was kind of instigating that shit. That's a whole nother story, though. What do we got here card-wise? The Diddler card Castle Fallen. That's so true. I love this moment because I actually feel, I know there's still animosity out there, but I mean, I really mean it. I've had some really important convos, and I've had some, with people that see things way different than me. And I actually approached them and was like, hey, I want to understand where you come from in all this. And it's been so positive. Being the bigger, better, humble person within yourself is going to go so far right now. There's so much more we all have in common than not. And that's part of the end of this Pluto Capricorn. Like, the lesson is with Pluto, Pluto would rather connect than not. Capricorn only connects with, in a very Diddy style, like, oh, you can only come to my white party, my freak offs if you're a celeb, or you're some fucking little kid girl or something. I don't even know, right? That's the Capricorn weird shit, right? The whole gated entry thing. Like, oh, no, you're not of this higher caliber. You don't have a degree. You don't have a this. So I'm happy that that's coming to an end. And we don't have to be putting that on others. That's the true light worker test here. So let's see what we got here. And remember, I'm doing my Draconic course. It's going to be happening tomorrow. Like it's, again, like a hybrid course, but it's going to be teaching you about your Draconic chart, the past life stuff. You can go to highvibe.tv, check it all out. It's only $15 and you'll be able to watch recording forever. And you can watch that in the apps. You don't have to be a subscriber, all that stuff. I showed that at the beginning of this video, but again, you can just go to highvibe.tv and as I finish doing that, you just go to, you can buy it, Draconic Astrology, in the watch section. You'll see it here, boom, and learn more about it, and everything's all in here. And you can watch it in the apps, be part of the community, all that fun stuff. So let me know in the comments if you want me to turn that community feature on. But, we kind of do like it in High Vibe to have people that are members instead of just people that just come to troll. So that's what's nice. Imagine being on social media without trolling and just pure spirituality. All right. Knight of Wands reversed. You know what? I like that we got this card because this isn't about, this is so this Mars Leo to me slowing down, and the quincunx to Venus kind of like, hey, this is not about you trying to be the young little whippersnapper who's just like, I get whatever I want whenever I want, and I can go for it. It's not about going for it. It's about allowing yourself to see things are moving and let me really place my energy in the right energy. And so trying to jump into things or just trying to be this loud, obnoxious, wild, yeah, is not going to, especially with Mars getting ready to retrograde, right? In Leo, that's what I did the last time Mars went retrograde in Leo. I just finished True Beauty on ABC filming it. I got home. I got this big DJ gig. The first time I got to open for Mark Farina, 2009. And I'm like, oh my God. And that was October. And then November was like, I was doing all this. It was like DJs were like, hey, you start being a DJ judge and shit. I was like, I'm on fire. I'm going to be fucking famous. And then the second that Mars retrograded right before Christmas, I was like, I don't have any work. My unemployment's done. I'm DJing at a fucking little bar that has like 10 people there, and they're fucking in their 50s to 70s, and they want me to play oldies instead of house music, and it's like only $100, and like I'm like, and then the production was like, yeah, it ain't airing until May 31st, 2010. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. I was betting on, oh, this was gonna happen at this moment. So don't be in that place, because trust me, I've been there. Being a little bit too cocky right now is going to be your biggest downfall. Oh, we got a 10 of Pentacles in reverse too. Yeah, literally. But, I think this is saying if we're going to build things that are worth building, they have to be things that aren't about the thrill or the excitement or even the kind of young, like, oh, like, yeah, this is going to make me feel alive again. It's much more about, hey, this shit's serious. like we just announced we're going to have our second baby, right? Like, it's so exciting. But, in my life, it's like, okay, I don't fuck around like I used to. I'm a dad. I'm a husband. I'm about to be the father of 2 kids. It's like taking this shit serious now while still being able to have fun is how we all got to go through life now in our own ways. I think a lot of people out there, Pluto and Capricorn at the end of it does wake people up either rudely or not, because the whole lesson is you have to take your life more serious. And doesn't mean you have to lose the fun of it, and especially with all this Pisces energy, whatever is kind of holding you back, that kind of young thrill seeker that's like going off the rails to have too much fun and not have any fucks to give. And that sun opposite Uranus can definitely make people feel that way. I would not be, especially with the last 4 days of Pluto, Capricorn, and Saturn just stationing direct in Pisces, can try and be like waking up like you're in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas and being like, I'm all around all these reptilians and all this weird shit, and be like, I'm going to keep going for it. That won't end up good. And you want to talk about not really having a nice place to start? Pluto and Aquarius will start you out in the weirdest place. You'll get dropped off in the weirdest place and have to try and find your way through a maze. I appreciate you all. Of course, catch me for tomorrow on High Vibe, that Draconic Astrology event I'm doing. Also, I did that X event. If you really want to watch some really deep stuff about 2025 and what's coming up here and the big eclipses that are coming up and all the stuff connected to Nostradamus and more, it's really gnarly what's coming. And that's on High Vibe too, the X moment. I did that a couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. I appreciate you all. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with sun signs, all that stuff. I've been redoing High Vibe because I am going to be a father to a second child. And my wife is pregnant right now, and we're raising a little one. So, and I've moved the whole business. So I've reached this kind of point of where it's like, okay, I gotta really fucking get my life into fucking the right schedule and gear here. And I'm not, that's where my harder points are. Instead of saying your weak spots, it's like, okay, this is where I'm having more challenges. And that's where you're putting your energy to work on. So I appreciate you all very much. I wish you huge blessings on this full moon. And remember how beautiful life is, no matter how weird, odd, and crazy it is. That's what makes it so beautiful. Thanks so much. Adios. Take care.
Yo. Okay.
Attention, please.